Hi there, welcome to the Veach M Cave mystery. Today I want to present to you one of the strangest findings yet, which still remains unexplained, and it's in regards to lost time. You may be wondering what that's all about. Make sure to stick around and you'll find out. This is in relation to a fellow hiker known as Jeff Clark that went out searching numerous times for the missing hiker Kenny Veach and the mysterious M Cave. Now, besides Jeff Clark, there's been other hikers that have gone out there, such as J Chuck and SB Vegas Adventures. All three of them have had strange encounters at some point or another. J Chuck has heard footsteps behind him, but no one was there. SB the same. J Chuck also heard voices and whispers around him. SB the same. But with Jeff Clark, Jeff has had some other unusual encounters, such as equipment malfunctioning, failing on itself, and as well, coming across a crystal skull, and even being zapped, feeling vibrations, just like Kenny Veach. Now today we're focusing specifically on the equipment and the files, which links to the lost time. So as for the other encounters, we'll get into that in a later video. I want to do it bit by bit so you can fully understand what we're talking about. There is material, evidence and proof and photos, files to present to you today, so make sure to stick around for that, and as well a bit of a map analysis. In terms of SB Vegas Adventures, he himself has also experienced malfunctions with equipment turning off and just not working properly, and that's been in other areas when one's been hiking. So it seems like it's not just one area where all the problems are experienced, it's kind of spread out. But the one thing that's very unique but also creepy with Jeff Clark's lost time is within the area and proximity of where Kenny Veach hiked, right? And it's also within the area of the supposed covered up M Cave, Keyhole Cave, and the cave Kenny Veach was afraid of. So with the proximity being close, there could be some possible connections and explanations. And I'll give you my theories or ideas towards the end of this video, but we do need to get into the main material first to set the story. For those that are currently hearing this live premiere, appreciate that. Be sure to share your thoughts, opinions and reactions as we go throughout this video in the chat box right hand side of the screen. If you want to leave comments, or those on catch up, you want to leave some comments down below in the comment section, feel free to do so, and it will help spread awareness of this video and this encounter, because Jeff Clark wanted awareness to be spread and for an answer to come about. That's why I'm presenting to you this video. Down below in the comment section, you'll also find some additional links if you wish to check them out, or if you want to support the channel. And if you do want to catch up on all the research and latest updates on the Kenny Veach case, top right corner of the screen, the I symbol, you click on that and you'll be redirected to some previous content and material you may need to catch up on. So it's all under control there. So to set the story, one thing that needs to be made clear, as I said, Jeff Clark has been out there a couple of times, and the very first time he went out there was in 2016, okay? We may not talk about the 2016 hike as much as the 2017 one because of what was encountered and found there, okay? So in terms of the time lost, that's on the 2016 hike. That's what we're going to be looking at today. In terms of the 2017 hike, that's when Jeff Clark unexpectedly caught the crystal skull on camera inside of the mine shaft when the torch and equipment was malfunctioning on itself unexplainably. So it was almost like stabbing in the dark, but Jeff Clark managed to capture it. That's a completely different mystery in its own right. Extremely deep and very mysterious and creepy. You want to catch up on that focus, as said, click on the playlist and you'll find all the videos regarding the crystal skull mystery as of 2017. The next time when Jeff Clark did head back out there, even though he was telling himself he wouldn't do it again because of how demanding, but rough as well, okay? It's not a place to have fun, if you know what I'm saying. It was in 2022, not too long ago, when Jeff went back out there, and it was primarily searching for the M cave symbol rock, in which there was a tanned rock down one of the canyons, and it had an M symbol on it, translated through Hebrew or something. Now, Jeff wasn't able to successfully find it at the time, but ticked it off the list when another canyon was presented, either by another individual or through the usage of maps, and then a better understanding was found from then. The other thing what Jeff Clark did acknowledge and document in 2022 on the hike was the covered M cave, in which there was a missing rock, a heavy one, in which someone had removed it when trying to look inside. Who is that? Who was responsible? We don't know. That remains a mystery itself. Was it a rogue hiker? Was it someone of higher authority? We don't know. But Jeff Clark did document that the rock was found on the ground. So it wasn't taken away, but it was definitely manually removed by a human. But only one rock was missing. So that was kind of strange. So, for Jeff Clark, almost every time he's hiked out there, he's had a strange encounter or found something very unusual, which is kind of interesting. So it feels like there's a lot of high activity out there within the area of where Kenny Veach hiked. So, you're assuming that Kenny Veach is missing in the desert, with Jeff Clark and his encounters, you wouldn't be too surprised if someone went missing out there, right? If there's a presence, if there's a dark force, or something else out there maybe being hidden or covered up. You never know, right? All theories and ideas are welcome here. So to get into things, we're going to head on over to Google Earth. I'm going to do a bit of a map analysis just to point out the area of where the lost time was encountered, and elaborate further as to what it really means and why it's so important. And we're going to incorporate the key material and from the point of view of Jeff Clark at the time of when he was out there in 2016. Don't go anywhere. So here we are. We zoom on in just to make it familiar with everybody and re-jog people's memory. We flip the image here. Down here we got the parking spot, Joe May Road, which goes into Joe May Canyon, where you head on hiking just before it the road where Kenny Veach would have parked up. Now you wonder, why is this in reference to Jeff Clark? It's not exactly, but I just want people to be familiar with what it looks like on the maps before we move on to the hot spot. Okay, Joe May Canyon, that's heading north, okay, through this canyon. And once you get further up, just have to zoom out a bit because it messes up. Flipping the image, what you will get here, I think it's like an agave burn pit or so, just before Wild Horse Pass, in parallel to it over here, higher up on a hill, not a mountain, just a hill, bit more elevation as you can see, that's the mine shaft. And as I said, 2017, Jeff Clark did an investigation there. For reference, the coordinates are provided on the screen. Apologies about the UI interface. Unfortunately, with updates on Google Earth, things have got in the way, so I can't, get rid of it. So, yeah. So, to focus on Jeff Clark, over Wild Horse Pass, heading down this steep slope, coming down this valley almost, and looking west, or almost west. Coming on down here, what you notice is there's another agave burn pit here, which which some people thought was the M cave, because if you rotate it around and look at it from aerial viewpoint, it looks like an M symbol. But that's just a coincidence, okay? But it's a good reference point, in case you're wondering. So, looking that way north is where the sword and tent was found by Scott Natal, which isn't that far away, here. Well, let me do the coordinates. Yeah. So that's where Scott Natal found tent and sword, and I believe that was in 2021 or 2022 onwards. So I'm just giving you a perspective of what was found within the area by a range of different people to reinforce that whilst Jeff Clark has had his own unique, strange experience, there are other things present that are, have been around at a point in time. And there's a chance that that sword and tent was there way back in 2016. Possibilities. Okay? Now, looking that way west, you follow it down, you go into Picture Canyon where it gets very narrow and it slopes in and out and eventually brings you out to the lower ground down there. And, if you went the way I said at the start of this video, it would be a loop hike all the way back because you would then turn left and go south back to where you parked up. Now, I'm not saying Jeff Clark did that, but it's just so you understand the hike route loop. But to focus here, okay, this is the key area. I'll drop the coordinate in between, okay? In between this area, this was where Jeff Clark had a very strange, unexplainable experience, which he didn't notice immediately. It was afterwards when he got back home, when he started looking at his files over time. Do you know when you look at the properties and the details? Jeff Clark took 2 photos within, distance, a space of just under a mile, okay? About 0.76. And when looking at the time of when the photos were taken, it took 2 hours, 10 minutes to get from point A to point B. That makes 0 sense, and I'll explain why. But in terms of the location, okay? Let's get rid of that. So it was around this area here, if I put the marker, around this area here where Jeff Clark took the first photo, right? There's the coordinates. This is in the area of the small caves which Kenny Veach walked past. And I'll present those photos to you to re-jog your memory shortly. Just past a point there, I believe, is Skull Canyon, which was named by SB Vegas Adventures. So it's just before that where the caves are at, near that light-coloured patch down here. That's where the covered up M cave is, in which 2019 Sean Horlacker, another hiker, did the investigation and covered it in this spot. Jeff Clark wasn't aware of it at the time because in 2016 it wasn't discovered back then, right? But the M-shaped cave was present there, which, Kenny Veach walked past and ignored, okay? And, parallel to it, on the other side of this rock wall here, within this area, is where that cave was, slightly higher up, which Kenny appeared afraid of, right? So it's a hot spot for encounters and findings. And as well, down here you got the keyhole cave next to the covered up cave on the right hand side, in which there appeared to be like a lizard or reptilian eye spying through a hole, captured by Sean Horlacker in 2016. Now the reason why that's interesting is because although different months apart, Sean Horlacker went out the same year as did Jeff Clark. So if one person saw a reptilian eye spying through a hole and Jeff Clark encountered lost time, was there some kind of dark presence, right? That's one of the theories and possibilities to suggest, okay? So first photo was taken in this area. It was primarily focused on a skull on a rock. And then just further up, where you see that agave burn pit, the next photo was taken. But what Jeff Clark did was walk so far up this way, heading east, then turning back around, and I think it might be this bit here, going up the slope, and then eventually turning back round to get a photo from this angle here, okay? To get like a vantage point so you could overlook it. It was around here, okay? Not much movement, not much distance, but the time it took was greater than expected. A total of 0.76 miles, and from photo A to photo B, it took 2 hours, 10 minutes to cover under a mile. To put that into perspective of how ridiculous that sounds, but it's a fact and it will be proven shortly. Referring back to the original hike route loop. Okay, you're starting off from down here, from the parking spot where Kenny Veach parked up to the mine shaft. Let's just measure the distance, roughly speaking. Okay, put it there. I'm just got to try and line it up if possible. Don't know why it's changed colour almost. Just zoom on out so it can be done a bit quicker as well. This is just to put things into perspective, okay? So, got the burn pit right there where that brown marker was. It's like, it was like 3.4 miles, okay? From there all the way back down. We'll just do it one more time because unfortunately it was playing up. I forgot, with the layout, you press the wrong button and it all shuts off, so that's really annoying, okay? So, you know, it's like 3.5 miles or something. Yeah. It's about 3.5 miles or so from the parking spot up to the mine shaft, and people have said there's been a consensus that would take about 4 hours. 4 hours to cover maybe about 3.5 miles or so. And yet it took Jeff Clark 2 hours and 10 minutes to cover under 1 mile. Things don't add up, do they? Now, let me present to you from Jeff Clark's own point of view and story. So what you're looking at on screen is the interpretation of Jeff Clark. So we're looking at the same area as what we're doing on Google Earth just then, but it's actually mapped out as for the hike route part of where he encountered the lost time, okay? So Skull on Boulder / Small M Caves, where the photo was taken first, up to the mountain slope, which was a total of 0.74 miles, and the photo time difference was a 2 hour 10 minute difference. Now the reason why it says leg 4 is because that's just a section of the hike Jeff Clark did. He did more than this, and for most part of it, it was okay, the hike. And in this area specifically, Jeff Clark labelled it as an easy hike in terms of this area mapped on screen, because you weren't dealing with lots of loose rock or extreme steep slopes or anything like that. This was considered an easy area of hiking, so it shouldn't take that long to do, but it did. So it's trying to understand, did Jeff Clark truly lose time, or is it more so a malfunction with the equipment and the details of the photo taking? Either way, it's very strange, because either Jeff Clark has been negatively influenced by a dark force or presence out there which has manipulated time in real life time, or that there's a dark force, presence, equipment, resistance, which is resisting against Jeff Clark's equipment and causing interference. So could it be equipment? Could it be military related? All kinds of possibilities, right? Just want to put it out there for you to discuss and share your thoughts about it. But yeah, what you see here, just try and zoom in. What you see there, that first dot, is within the area of where photo A was taken. Worked his way east, going past that agave burn pit, which you see in white there, just under the 2 hour text. And turning back round, as you see here, to then go up that slope, as you can see by the ridge line. And from there, that's when photo B was taken, overlooking this area here, which I showed you on Google Earth just before, okay? So let's move on. This is what it looks like ground level, okay? So what you see here, where that first dot is how it appears here, ground level. Down that way is towards Picture Canyon. So this is facing west, okay, or west-ish. This photo itself wasn't from Jeff Clark's point of view, but it's a reference point of the area, so you're familiar with it. This was in 2014 by the original Kenny Veach, who obviously went missing when trying to search for the mysterious M cave. And one thing which I caught on camera from this angle, which I never really picked up on, is slightly off to the right, you zoom in, that, almost like a triangle, is the covered up M cave, which Sean Horlacher investigated in 2019. Okay? SB has also investigated it too. And obviously someone has removed one of the rocks as time went on. It's just interesting because I've never picked up on it from this angle, right? Because this is when Kenny Veach turned on his camera back again on his hike, where a few seconds later he panned around to the right, and that's where he had the rock wall of those smaller caves. And those smaller caves are what you see here. That's the M-shaped one. And then that's the keyhole one with the little hole at the back of the wall. Okay? So within this area, roughly, just like how you can see this like gravelled path there, which follows on here, okay? Within this area, there was a boulder, there was some kind of rock, which had a skull resting on top. It stood out, right? It kind of looks a bit spooky, creepy, seeing a skeletal remains, the actual head of an animal resting on a rock, slightly high up, which would make you think, how was it put there and who balanced it there? Was it another animal or was it a human? And why would they do it in general? Similarly, it was really robbing, roughly in the area, not this canyon though, a different canyon, where really Robin noticed there was a rock, a boulder with a skull resting on top. And that was actually higher up, the same height as really Robin. So more than likely, a human was responsible for picking it up and placing it on top. Okay? So yeah, that's the covered M cave, as we said. That is what you see here. Back there. Okay? So, past that, that's the photo by Jeff Clark. That's from his point of view. You can clearly see that skull. There's a bighorn sheep, maybe, missing its horns, and I don't know where they were. The mysterious thing about this, besides whoever put it there, it was missing when Jeff Clark went back out there, such as in 2022, and I think maybe before that as well. I don't know if you noticed it in 2017, but it was missing as time went on. Where did it go? It wasn't on the floor. It wasn't balanced on anything. It just disappeared. Could another hiker have taken it? Maybe. But was it the same hiker that put it there in the first place? We don't know. And it's just mysterious how you've got a public case like Kenny Veach, okay? Well known, very popular. People communicate within the community as for who goes in and comes out, and they document it on their channels. But every now and then, you get these mysterious people that don't announce when they're going out or what they're doing. Maybe this was an example. But for it to occur in 2016, just a couple of years after Kenny's disappearance, does it raise the possibility that Kenny Veach may have put it here himself? Just like the crystal skull as well? Were lots of hints and clues laid out there like a playground of mind games to create some kind of deeper mystery to say that Kenny is out there, or that Kenny is playing mind games on other hikers? Or is it a completely different individual that's got involved at some point? All kinds of endless possibilities. And with interest building and this standing out almost like a beacon or a marker, that's why Jeff Clark took the photo. He didn't think too much else of it until afterwards when he compared the file. Because when you look at the file, this file is of this photo taken, okay? So as for the details, a Sanyo digital camera, the date taken, 10th, 18th, 2016 at 11:37 a.m. Now, for some people in different countries, the date may be reversed because it is when you compare it to the UK and the US, okay? Normally it would be the 18th of the 10th, 2016, okay? 18th day of the 10th month, 2016, in case you were wondering. And the photo was taken at 11:37 a.m, just before lunchtime, 12 o'clock. And it gives some additional details too, like the dimensions, width and height, okay? Moving on, this was the next photo taken. So Jeff Clark came up from down there as it bends off to the left, okay? You see the agave burn pit there, what we saw on the maps, which looked like an M shape. And where Jeff Clark has taken it is from up the slope, as he described, just to get a bit of a vantage point and get an overall view of the area. Now, I believe I'm correct in saying, which is interesting, I've only just picked up on it now, but looking over that way, up that canyon, which is heading north, you zoom in there, is actually, I think, if I'm correct in saying, middle of the screen, rock formation. That rock formation is where Scott Natal found the tent and the sword, if I'm correct in saying. If not there, it might be just a bit further up off camera, okay? But you get the idea, right? Down there, the M cave, the covered up M cave, the keyhole cave with the spying eye, and the cave parallel, which Kenny Veach was afraid of. And then up that way, north, you've got the sword, the campsite, the people think it's a serial killer. Someone hiking out there trying to kill Kenny Veach, okay? It's weird, isn't it? This is almost like the center point down there is the center point. Then you got north, east, south, west. North and west are where things were found and strange experiences encountered. And in the middle of all those findings, there was lost time. It's almost like being in the very middle of the Bermuda Triangle. You see all the stuff happening around and right within where it could be the main focus point. You get what I'm saying? So if we look at the file size, the file details of this photo taken, as you can see there, taken on the same day as you would expect, 10th, 18th, 2016, but it was at 1:47 p.m. You compare that to photo A. This photo was taken at 11:37 a.m. and this photo was taken at 1:47 p.m. Where's all that time gone in between? All Jeff Clark did was stand down there, just a bit further off camera, round the bend, to take a photo. And he simply walked up this way and then came up this slope as where he stood. 0.76 miles. Under a mile, yeah, it took 2 hours and 10 minutes, roughly speaking. A lot of lost time. Where did it all go? That is the mystery. Now, if you've managed to last this long watching the video, I do really appreciate it. I hope as many people are still here watching. Be sure to like and share this video to help Jeff Clark out, a fellow hiker, to spread the awareness of the Kenny Veach case overall, and also this weird experience and encounter out there, because we do need to try and solve this mystery. It's like a mystery within a bigger mystery, the Kenny Veach M Cave case, right? So if it can bring in new people, new viewers with different ideas and perspectives, that can be a positive within. So feel free to like this video down below and even share it. What we are moving on to now is equally as important, and it's to do with the theories, the ideas, possible explanations as to why it happened to Jeff Clark, okay? And then later in this video, we can also look back possibly at the comments of the last Kenny Veach video I did, if there's time, and clear up any questions that need answering, and if there's any additional new information on the case, I can go from there, okay? So, when it comes to Jeff Clark's experience, right? Time has been lost. A great amount of time for a short amount of distance covered. Just like what we saw at the mine shaft. From the parking spot to the mine, takes about 4 hours, and it's like about 3.5 or something in miles. As I said, it depends where exactly you park down Joe May Road. That can take into account of the distance from there up to the mine shaft. But roughly speaking, about 4 hours. As for Jeff Clark, it should have took probably under an hour to do under 1 mile or so. I know there could be ideas, you know, maybe Jeff Clark stopped for a bit, had lunch, may have had a little nap on the ground, rested. No, that's not what Jeff Clark was doing. Jeff Clark was conscious of time, just like how he is whenever he goes out there, right? There's only so much you can do in a day and capture, record, but also investigate. So you've always got to be on your toes and moving about. Jeff Clark doesn't camp out there, okay? Jeff Clark doesn't sleep out there. Does he like does he eat on the spot? I'm not too sure. He might have some things in his backpack like beef jerky or something, but even that has kind of gone wrong at times because of the heat. All in all, Jeff Clark is aware of the dangers out there, so he's not going to stick around too long. There's no need to do so. All Jeff Clark was simply doing in that section of the hike was taking 2 photos, one of which that skull. Yeah, it took that long. So, why? Simply why? Because he's not stopping for that long and he's not sleeping. So, has Jeff Clark been negatively impacted with real-time delay, losing time? I know some people use the line, you know, time flies by when you're having fun. Maybe, but you don't just suddenly lose about 2 hours worth of time being in a small area. That just doesn't happen. That's not normal, right? So something must have been manipulated. Either Jeff Clark and real time, you know, real space and time has been manipulated through some kind of presence or unnatural force within the area, or simply the equipment that Jeff Clark was using at the time malfunctioned and glitched. That's a possibility, right? That maybe Jeff Clark did take photos at the normal time, but the description of it within the camera or whatever malfunctioned, which would mean just a malfunction on equipment. And maybe people could say, well, that happens at times no matter where you are in this world. You can take a photo and it might give incorrect details if there was some kind of interference, if there was some kind of bug or glitch on the device and it just messes up. It can happen, okay? But why? Why out there at that place at that time? Why would the equipment not work or go wrong? Because some people could say, oh, it's just a coincidence, it's bad timing, okay? That Jeff Clark didn't actually lose any time, but what's mentioned in the details, it seems as if it was. So basically, what I'm trying to get at is, yes, you can play it off, round it down and say it's just the equipment being faulty, messing up. But that's the mystery within itself. You know, whether it be Jeff Clark actually losing time or the equipment showing misinformation when malfunctioning, either way is a strange, unexplainable occurrence and an experience, because it's not the first time Jeff Clark has had issues. Because as said, in 2017, when he was out there going into the mine shaft and he was trying to record or take photos, it was very difficult. I guess he had to use flash on his camera. That was the only way about it. But besides the flash, there was no light source, only the natural light from above the opening of the mine shaft. And yes, that's 2017, not in relation to what we're talking about today, in terms of the year, right? 2016 is the lost time. 2017 is a different encounter. But if we're referring to the equipment failing on itself in 2016, well, the same happened then in 2017 with with Jeff Clark's torch light source cutting out, not working, wasn't able to turn it on. It just wasn't working all of a sudden, randomly. Did it work afterwards? I believe so, but it didn't in that moment when Jeff Clark was descending into the mine shaft. Could you say it's just a coincidence, unfortunate timing? Maybe, but it's very interesting how in that moment, Besides the strange occurrence, what was around Jeff Claw was another mystery, the crystal skull. He wasn't aware of at the time. He took photos in the dark with a quick flash, and took a photo. So it was lucky that Jeff Clark captured the crystal skull. But it took some time online for people to pick up on it on a different platform forum. And then the analysis followed from my point of view, etc. But whilst you can say, oh, it's just a coincidence, how many times does it need to happen for people to then think, you know what, there's more to it, right? If Jeff Clark can experience equipment malfunctioning in 2016, which then depicts the wrong time when the photo was taken, and then in 2017, Jeff Clark's torch doesn't work suddenly when it's needed, and then when the likes of other hikers as well who have had issues with equipment randomly, unexpectedly, unexplainably malfunctioning. SB Vega's adventures when he's been out there, not directly within the same area, elsewhere when searching for Kenny Veach and the M Cave, overall within the area, has had malfunctions with his equipment, cutting out, not working, stopping, his camera, I guess torches, you know, all the different types of equipment, right? So it's not just one hiker that's had this issue. And it's not just once it's happened multiple times. So it made me believe that there is more going on in the area, okay? And if I was to side more with the equipment malfunctioning on itself rather than actual lost time, then there must be something else out there, the presence of an object or someone which is causing this interference. But then to understand that it's happened in different locations, besides Jeff Clark being near the Agave pit and then the caves and Pitcher Canyon further on down, in the midsection of it all, as we saw in the photo of photo B, SB Vega's adventures having issues himself elsewhere, it seems to cover a range, a wider area. Now, take in mind, when other hikers have been out there at different points, they too have brought equipment with them, whether it be a torch, some kind of camera for filming, recording. They didn't have issues. When Jeff Clark went out in 2022, he didn't have issues there, but he was doing other stuff in a different canyon, right? So I don't know if it's in specific areas where there might be a level of interference, right? Now, can I think of anything on the spot? Not quite. But if anyone can add on and elaborate down below, that's welcome. What I'm trying to... Apologies about the cough, okay? It ruins the flow when I'm talking. I said the video was supposed to be done yesterday, but this shit just gets in the way. It really annoys me because it's just failing everything. But hopefully people have managed to listen up to now, at least, and I appreciate that. And hopefully people are still watching, you know, to understand what this is all about. But going along the idea, right? Because at this moment in time, right, with the area of where it happened, near to the caves, near to where Kenny Veach walked past when he was trying to find the M Cave, with those original theories that whatever you may find, the M Cave or a cave within the area, it could be an underground tunnel, it could be a military base, it could be a military air vent or something. It could be a small cave which has communication equipment in. There could be an entrance somewhere where Kenny Veach felt the vibrations within the area, which was some kind of access denial system, which the military use, which gives off vibrations or sounds, noises or feelings, pulses, which makes you feel uneasy, uncomfortable, maybe even makes some people a bit worried or scared. So basically they move away from the area, an access denial system to prevent people from accessing the entrance of such as a cave, right? We're talking about equipment like that used by military to deter people away from sensitive areas where there could be important stuff, equipment, material, who knows, right? That was the original theory when it came to the M Cave and the vibrations. And if it is within the area, could that tie in with Jeff Clark's personal equipment malfunctioning on itself in some way or another, hence leading to the details of the photos taken messing up in time? If that wasn't the case, and it had nothing to do with equipment malfunctioning, and it was more to do with Jeff Clark and real-time delay as time just glides by, you know, you'd have to be like almost like knocked out cold, you know, shot, whacked over the head, poisoned, or, you know, something to make you fall unconscious and then spend 2 hours asleep to then just wake up and then carry on walking. But Jeff Clark did not experience any of that. He was hiking, he was on the go, on the move. So there was no real awareness. There was no like alert level of what's just happened to me. Because Jeff Clark only noticed lost time after he returned back home from his hike safe. So whatever that did happen out there was covert, right? Not aware of it at the time. Didn't sense, didn't feel anything was strange or off. Didn't see, didn't hear anything that was strange or odd. Yet the equipment may have experienced something, okay? As I said, things can malfunction in different ways. Some things can just shut off and not work. Others can turn on and off, intermittent, and other stuff can glitch within. Maybe files become corrupted and it was perfectly fine then, but as soon as you get back later, something's gone wrong. All kinds of unexpected stuff can happen, right? So at this moment in time, I am leaning more towards malfunction of equipment because it's happened multiple times with a range of hikers. So it follows that trend. So if that ultimately is the theory, if that ultimately is the outcome, then it would be trying to understand what causes equipment to malfunction on itself. And it's making me think, is there some kind of blocker, some kind of jammer, some kind of interference, military equipment within the area or radius which is interfering with normal equipment by normal people that go out there? That's what I'm thinking. And is it just one area which covers a large radius, or is it designated spots which has impacted SB Vega's adventures elsewhere when hiking, right? Is it just one area which covers a wide radius, or small places dotted on the map, scattered about? And where would they be located? That'd be the next question, the location of it. It could cover a wide radius or so, but where is the center point? Where's the epicenter? Where's the actual equipment then? Is it buried in the ground? Is it deep underground? Is it within a cave? Is it near the covered cave, right? Is it possible to whittle it down? Is that even possible, right? It's just, you got to pick up on the factors of the location and proximity of other things around. So with Jeff Clark losing time in an area where there are supposed M caves, a supposed covered up cave, which was supposedly covered up by, let's say, military, an area where a skull was placed on a rock by an unknown person and then disappeared afterwards, an area where there's a keyhole cave where it appeared that something was spying through the hole. At least from my point of view, I debunked it through psychological explanations, but other people still believe it's a reptilian looking through the hole. All these coincidences, right? All within a small area as to where Jeff Clark had his strange encounter. So is there a link between where he was and what he walked past? Is there something within the rock wall? Something within that covered up M cave? Some kind of equipment? A blocker, jammer? That's what I'm thinking of personally. I want to know your thoughts though down below. Be sure to leave a comment whether you agree with my thought or you got a different theory, right? As said, you could go back out there now and it might not happen again. So intermittent or just the right place at the right time, or depending how you feel or who you are at the time, wrong place, wrong time, right? It's like with other things which may have been captured on camera, like Jay Chuck seeing the military planes flying by. Doesn't happen all the time, but it happened on that occasion when Jay Chuck was out there. And then even a time when Ewu crew, I think it was Emma, and it was at night when they were out in the desert, and they said, where are the UFOs? And then one flies by just like that over a military base within the desert area of where Kenny Veach hiked. That timing, bit of a coincidence, but the timing of it, it's not guaranteed to happen. But when it does, and if it's documented, it's very strange. And with Jeff Clark, we've been out there a couple of times, he has had strange experiences, right? So, is there anything else I can add on at this moment in time? Not really. But if we need to get hands-on, okay? What I'll do at some point, okay? Because take in mind, Jeff Clark did feel vibrations. Not within that area though. It was elsewhere. I'll do a separate standalone video regarding that, but not for today because this is an individual focus, okay? I really hope people hear about this and see this video because it is very important, okay? So with that in mind, that'll be something to look forward to in the future. But there might be a follow-up to this video. If it leads to new discussions and different viewpoints and concepts and theories, well, we can always add on to that because, as people know, we always add on from the progression or the findings, and we can always look back as well. So you shouldn't lose out or miss out, okay? With that being in mind, maybe I can look back at material and photos as well, try and compare as to what I was pointing out. Even a dedicated singular video, bit more visual, saying how the environment leads and links to the time lost somehow. There's many different links that can be made and many separate standalone videos too, to really focus in on it. But as I said, the aim and the purpose of this video is to spread the awareness because Jeff Clark did a video on this, but it just didn't get the reach, okay? Now, I think my video will get out there a bit more, but I just hope, you know, a lot of people see it. Because this is the thing, you do a video about Kenny Veach being found or possibly being found, everybody gathers up. Is that great? Well, yeah, it gets conversations going and discussions, and if there's a genuine finding or there's like an analysis to determine whether it is or it isn't, and people join in to share their thoughts, that's good. But as soon as you do a video which isn't about Kenny Veach being found or the M Cave being found, people seem to shut off. And yet, what we're talking about here is arguably just as important, if not more important, because besides Kenny's disappearance, which is questionable, as we said, when you match it all up, that he might not even be out there. And some people have even said that the M Cave might not even exist. Well, even if that was the case, all this other strange stuff going on out there shouldn't be swept under the rug and shouldn't go under the radar. It needs to be acknowledged, it needs to be highlighted, and it needs to be shared. Jeff Clark's individual story and experience needs to be shared, so then there's a higher chance that there could be answers and a higher chance that it could maybe link on to a brand new mystery or a deeper one that's already existing within this case. You never know, right? SB Vega's Adventures, if you want to add in with your thoughts, whether you agree or not with this video or encounters. I mean, have you lost time? Has other hikers lost time? Feel free to share your experiences down below with regards to this area. What I am going to do now is probably do a poll, if possible. And if I'm not present to do one, I'll do the poll on my community tab, okay? And the poll will be something along the lines of, would you like to see maybe a follow-up video on this? And maybe follow-up videos in general on the case? You know, overall, to reflect back on stuff and to like zero in focus in on one particular thing with the usage of some material here and there. Kind of like what we've always done in the past. Let me know if that's something you would like to see in the future. And I just hope that the cough goes. I was looking online, it said once you've had a cold, a lingering cough can last up to 8 weeks. I don't know how far I am into that, but it could still last about another 4 to 5 weeks, which isn't exactly good news. It's bad. But that aside, what I will do now to let things sink on in, and if people want to rewind back, if you have joined late, rewind back from the start and catch up there. I'm going to transition on to the YouTube comments if there are any to read out and answer any questions, okay? Here we are, just going to adjust the comments to the latest. Now, in relation to all this, the last video I did was about the mineshaft, a damage report update 2024, and comparing it to the past. Let's see what people have had to say about it. Jeff Claw stepping up already in the comments saying, it looks a lot more dilapidated than I remember. All the boards look warped and dried out. So from Jeff Claw's memory of when he was there, such as 2016, 2017, it has drastically changed. And also Jeff says, yes, the original top opening was much smaller, the opening into the mineshaft. Someone must have widened it after me when I went out there in 2016-17, and I think they did it to get more sunlight to the bottom. So Jeff Clark is basically saying after 2017 and his own findings of the crystal skull, others may have been influenced and wanted to check it for themselves, move the boards with force, and go in and maybe take the skull. Now, that can be a standalone video, which we'll look at eventually. So be on the lookout for that. Jeff Clark says, SB Vega's adventures removed the boards to climb down, but he put them back in place when he left. The original opening boards were secured. They could not be moved like that without removing nails and screws. I barely fit down the original opening. So someone must have took tools with them. Interesting. Cleo, you're welcome. Right, so this is on a different topic in relation to Susan Veach, the sister-in-law to Kenny Veach, but we'll read it anyway. Jeff says, Susan is not lying, but what has she actually added besides an obvious personal dislike of Kenny, Ray, Debbie and Sharon? 1, she says that 9 family members say the CCTV is Kenny. I completely disagree and have proven why. 2, she says that Kenny is being hidden by Sharon and Ray and Debbie knows it. No proof provided for any of that. 3, she has no motive for Kenny disappearing like that for a decade. 4, she says she got a Facebook call from Kenny without any follow-up from Facebook as to the origins or reason for such a call, like a software update glitch. 5, she says that Kenny took out a loan on his truck without any proof of who actually signed to loan papers. In order to solve a mystery, such claims and conclusions require proof, not half-proofs, and her say, this is why I say that I believe Susan is well-meaning, but I simply disagree with her conclusions. So Jeff Clark is saying, basically, Susan provides only so much evidence and material, but comes to a conclusion abruptly based on that when it's not the full picture. What I would say is, at least Susan Veach has tried, in a way. At least Susan has provided some material. And let's, even if it's not enough or not a lot, let's acknowledge it because it's never seen before. Would you be getting that material anywhere else? And I'm not talking about the police report. I'm referring to the text messages, the conversations, the emails, and some of the other material which has been handed out with time. Now, because it's from a personal point of view. And in order to see material from a personal point of view, you need them to pass it on to you, right? So it is unique, some of the material. And maybe with time, more will come. So, I know, you could treat it like a waiting game, maybe. Right, there are some responses here. Jeff Clark says, Susan Veach, How do you know that Ray knew it was him? Again, you are simply beating your head against a wall with Las Vegas Metro Police Department and the search and rescue. They're only going to tell you what they want you to know. Search and rescue cannot get straight who is not a member. Remember, Gene Loskowski. So the detective followed up on your documented email, but once again, zero conclusion. You seem to think that your correspondence with those people constitutes some sort of proof. It doesn't. All it proves is that you corresponded with someone. The results of the correspondence is what matters, and you have none. Same for the money issues. Thousands of people go bankrupt every year. They don't disappear for a decade over it. But sometimes, you can, if you're in trouble, another reason, you can disappear and then you can return back at a later date. Some people just simply move away, almost vanish in front of people's eyes and don't intend on returning back. And that could be for a long-term reason, a deeper reason to move on in life, to start a fresh life. No excess baggage, right? That's another way of looking at it. Susan says, well, since Metro and Search and Rescue have more experience than you, your bad-mouthing them only makes you look bad. I will reveal the results of the Carfax in my due time since you have never spoken to Kenny or Ray. You have no idea how they think. I'm not banging my head since you are the one obsessed with a person you have never met. As for Gene Loskowski, I was the one who contacted Search and Rescue and they had never heard of him since you would rather criticise than actively reach out to anyone. When law enforcement views CCTV footage, they contact family and friends for identification because years of living with or being around makes that person more familiar with mannerisms and facial features than a YouTuber. And the other thing was, Susan, when she did reach out to Search and Rescue at the time, they did respond back and then the email was shared with me and I made a video about it. So if people want to look back at that video, you'll be able to find it. Jeff Clark says, so because you have met Ray, you know what he thinks about Kenny's disappearance. You don't believe what he says himself. You yourself know what he really thinks. So you pick a person out of Search and Rescue and automatically believe their version, but not Gene Loskowski version. So you've decided that you have a real Search and Rescue official. So where's the official search route maps? Didn't your expert searching buddy give you those since he wants you to be fully informed? There's not Kenny in the CCTV. I've proven that. Let me predict you will release the Carfax and it will show no signatures on loan documents, but you'll insist that it's Kenny. It's not proof. Proof. Susan says, where is your proof there is an M cave? You keep saying the family is too emotional to recognise their own member, but you're the only one getting bent out of shape over Kenny. You keep saying you have no interest in finding Kenny, only the M cave. So go find it, maybe you will run into Kenny whilst you are doing it. That's right, you sit behind a computer and badmouth people. Why don't you go find another hiking video and pretend to read his mind and know everything about his family? The family has no desire to find Kenny, and that's as emotionless as you can get. Go find the M cave, no one is stopping you, but you pretending you know what the family feels is a joke. The fact that you constantly badger me proves you have nothing in your life but the M cave mystery. You are no better than celebrity stalkers who believe they know the celebrity and have a delusional relationship with. We have all heard your opinions, so stop coming after me because Kenny lied to you all. I'm at least searching for answers, whereas you sit behind a computer afraid to make a phone call or leave your home. Go find the M cave and stop pretending you are more knowledgeable than his own family. Jeff Clark responds, saying, I've never stated that there is an M cave. I've stated theories that include that possibility. I cannot help the fact that you cannot discern theories and opinions from factual statements. Anything I say about the family are direct quotes from Ray himself. You're the one twisting his statements, not me. In fact, you accuse him of being in on it. As to the 9 family eyewitnesses that you claim to represent, they are IDing Kenny with emotions, not facts. It's not Kenny. Susan says, again, you have no idea what emotions the family has or does not have. Ray also said Kenny wanted to be famous and he is probably back east, but you still don't understand the personas you see on camera are not real. So find someone else to badger, because no one is asking for your opinion on any one of the Veaches. I can't help that you can't discern fantasy from reality, and you think because you watched a one-dimensional version of Kenny, you are more knowledgeable than law enforcement, search and rescue his own family. The family has not reached out to you and anyone else to encourage or supply info regarding Kenny, simply because you are not needed and they know more than you give them credit for. God, it goes on a bit. Jeff says, show us where Ray said Kenny is probably back east. What I saw and heard Ray say was that he thinks it was an accidental fall in the sheep range. The police have never stated that the CCTV is Kenny. Whatever you think of my opinions, what I do not do is announce that this mystery is already solved and discourage new investigators from the start. If Raf had listened to you from the start, we would not have hundreds of M-Cave-related videos and evidence to work with. He would have said, oh, it's already solved, by his ex-sister-in-law who has all the answers without a bit of proof. So actually, Jeff Clark is instantly assuming that I, Warlight Raf, would only be one-sided and biased. So Jeff Clark is actually suggesting that I would become biased, one-sided, one-dimensional, and not take into fact all the other areas. Well, it seems like Jeff Clark has most definitely underestimated me, because even in a situation where someone reached out early on, if that was the case, and they said, this is what happened, that's what happened, blah, 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 you should know by now that the way I do things, I do it in a certain way. And even with other cases, yes, I listen into the story, but I have my own ways of doing it. I like to think outside of the box. Sometimes I go off route. I go down a dark pathway. I find other stuff. I connect things together. I'd eventually do a full circle, but Jeff Clark believes I wouldn't, in a different, a different universe. Disappointing. Susan says, nowhere did I say it was solved. Prove to me I said that even once. Ray stated if Kenny was alive, he would have head back east. His nephew Hunter stated that was Kenny by his body and mannerisms, documented it. He also asked me to not send a CCTV to his dad because his dad was devastated by Kenny's disappearance, and he was going to show the CCTV footage to his mom first because he was worried how Michael would take it. Michael was closer to Kenny than all the brothers, but you should know that because you know everyone and everything better than anyone else. I'm done. I'm not going to spend another second arguing with an obsessive fanboy of Kenny's. I also have a screenshot where you told a YouTube channel you were obsessed with the M-Cave. Done. This is why no one in the family is reaching out to any of you. They're not obsessing over Kenny, and they're not searching or mourning for Kenny. Done. Jeff Clark says, true, I'm obsessed with the M-Cave mystery, but I certainly am not obsessed with the Veaches. Never met one before, and I've noticed the difference in your statement about Ray. When you're called out, it changed from Ray said he went back east to Ray stated if Kenny were alive. Huge difference there. Lol. Your insistence that is Kenny on the CCTV is an insistence that Kenny's disappearance is solved in your mind, and your stated insistence Kenny never disappeared at all, and therefore there is no disappearance mystery. Susan then says, your insistence is not Kenny, is the family and the friends are too emotional since you've never spoken to a family member. What is your proof? They're too emotional. It is the police on the news channel to find them, and going back on the anniversary of his disappearance to have the news run his story to keep his memory alive. It's all memorials they have posted on Facebook crying their eyes out. Is it them reaching out to search and rescue and law enforcement for updates, or is it them reaching out to hikers for updates? Explain to me how you know every family member. It's emotional. Jeff Clark says, I made an entire video proving that it's not Kenny. They're IDing him so quickly because they're using emotions and not facts. It's not Kenny. Susan says, okay, fanboy, keep telling yourself you're an expert and everyone else is either a liar, delusional, or just big ol' emotional mess. See, the thing is, when it comes to me, when I first looked at it and I said, oh, that kind of looks like Kenny Veach. You know how I was wording it for quite some time. Looks like Kenny Veach. Like. Looks like. That's the language I was, using. And also take in mind, I'm not emotionally connected nor driven by really any emotions in this case, just like the Dylan Rounds one. I'm not impacted by this case. I don't feel negative about this case. I'm just covering it because I'm interested. Would the level of interest be a sign of emotion expressed? I don't know. I mean, would some people highlight it that you could look at the CCTV and be emotionally driven in a form of hope or excitement to say, oh, look what I found, it's Kenny Veach, and that's driven more by emotion and not by facts? That's one way of interpreting it. I mean, when it came to the keyhole, first seeing that, was that driven by emotion? The level of interest, intrigue, curiosity, and also feeling a bit creeped out by it. And then with time, eventually seeing it in a more, well, you could still say subjective, but a bit more objective way with the use of psychology. Maybe things take time. You see it one way, give it a few weeks, few months maybe, or longer, then you might see it from a different perspective. But you know, there'll be people out there that will see the footage and say that's Kenny, but they're not driven by emotions. Not everyone is driven by emotions, but people can still think the same way, even if it is classified as wrong. Anyway, was there anything else there, or did we get through it all? Yeah, we got through it all. We got Sonny, Kenny, Glenn, Lightbulb, final one by Lightbulb saying, bro, you skipped over the most important part. You didn't mention the mineshaft cavern that went off the west that was open and 30 feet long in 2010 but collapsed in 2014. Well, I didn't skip it in that sense. I was completely unaware of it to begin with. If one is unaware of something, then they're not going to know nor cover it. Okay, so just understand that. As if you've been around long enough, you'd understand. And eventually, we always come round full circle to acknowledge the other points. Okay, so patience is needed. But that aside, the person says, chances are Kenny Veach is literally right there. I explained it in a short on my other channel, right? Obviously, digging out the cave in could have lethal consequences. However, if a forensic anthropologist went out there to the mine shaft that Kenny's phone was left at, he could go directly from the ground use GPR ground penetration radar to scan the ground. As it can reach down 100 feet, digging would be unnecessary. This is the same technology they use to scan unmarked graves, and it works with 100 plus remains. We could have had Kenny Veach found months, if not years ago, but everyone refuses to listen. Right, so that's very ignorant language to say everyone refuses to listen. That's not the case. Not everyone will see this comment. Not everyone will see this video. Not everyone will be thinking the same way at the same time. It's never 100%, right? You could say the majority don't listen or the majority aren't aware, but it's not like 100%. SP Vegas Adventures has all the proof on his channel. I put the clues together. Well, we'll see with time what happens there. But that appears to be it for the comments overall. So a variety of comments there and responses back to back. Just wanted to share that with you in case you've not seen it before. As said, there is still unfinished business here in the case and the environment itself, and even this personal experience by Jeff Clark out there tying on with lost time. But at least today I just wanted to provide you the original story of what happened out there and how it unfolded. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. As said, feel free to like and share it. Leave a comment down below and we'll see what happens next. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.